because we sort of skipped over, you talked about buying the house in Willowick, and we sort of skipped over the time that you guys went off to Connecticut. And I was wondering if you could talk about that. You've got the pictures here as well of the boat.
Okay, that was before
It was almost
we bought the house.
It was almost right after you got married. Am I right?
Yeah. He really wanted to be on the ocean.
Why?
Because he was brought up on the Mediterranean, and he loved the water. And that's all we did. We went to the beach all the time, go swimming, and
By Lake Erie?
Huh?
By Lake Erie you would go?
Mm-hmm. And then he seen this ad in the paper in Rocky River.
What ad?
About this boat, the Ripple.
About the Ripple.
And he went to go see it, and he just fell in love with it. And he thought, that we could make a go of it if we took it to New York and chartered it.
So that people could live on it?
For just live on it and take a cruise, for the weekend.
Yeah. So was it big enough that people could?
Oh yeah. It slept 12 or 14 and maybe even more.
Wow. Underneath?
Yeah.
So like in
underneath.
Wow.
Oh yeah. And then it had a nice big, like a front room.
Yeah.
And of course things folded down where you could sleep on. Mm-hmm. In the winter we lived on there too.
Wow. Must have been cold.
Well, yeah, we had a heater on, but we lived on it in the wintertime.
So how is it though? I mean, I can understand him wanting to be on the water, but how is it that you guys ended up so far away? Why not just make a go of it in Lake Erie or somewhere in New York? Why all the way over, almost in Connecticut?
Yeah. Well, he wanted to be on the ocean.
Yeah.
Lake Erie was not the ocean.
Right, but there are other places.
But I think
Why
what
Connecticut?
he had in mind was maybe sailing to Spain or someplace.
Yeah.
But we went through the New York State Barge Canal, the inland waterways, which that I enjoyed because it's a canal.
Yeah.
We docked every night, and we were there. There was houses on this side and houses on that side, and it was like a street. The canal.
Yeah.
So that was nice. We enjoyed that, and then we started to take charters, and he kind of worked through the Stuyvesant Yacht Club, you know. And
do you remember where that was? I know where it was. I'm not trying to test you, but do you know? Have you ever heard of City Island? Does that ring any bells? City Island.
Could be.
That's where the Stuyvesant Yacht Club is.
Yeah.
So did you live there, or did you?
I think we had an apartment there because he was the steward of the club.
Yeah.
And he took care of everything. And just once a month I had to bake pies when they had a meeting.
Yeah.
Where all the big shots came and had meetings. So I baked the pie. And
how did he become an important guy in this group? He shows up.
Yeah. He had a good gift of gab.
Yeah.
He could sell anything. Yeah. He was smart. He wasn't dumb. He was a smart guy. He was a smart guy. And even working at Warner and Swayze, he worked with really machinery, really tight dimensions,
Yeah.
So he was smart, but but then it got so with these charters that there was, guys would bring their girlfriends, and it just I just couldn't take any more,
right.
And then the one time we got stuck on a what do they call it, a sand barge, and we had to sit on there until the tide came up and took us off. Between that and all this stuff going on the boat, I told him I was going home. I says, if you want the boat, you can have it, but I'm leaving. So I left, and he sold the boat. He sold the boat there. I don't know how, but he sold it, and he came back. And then that's when we bought the house in
Willowick. Did you, because from what I was able to find out just from like old phone books, you changed addresses a couple times. It was like you were in somewhere in Connecticut, and then you were in somewhere else, Bridgeport,
Connecticut. We stayed there. I think. Now, was that when we had the boat, or was after we sold the boat? I can't remember. Yeah, we stayed in Bridgeport, and he worked, and I worked too.
Yeah.
And we had an apartment there. Was this before we had the boat? I can't remember. Maybe it was before we had the boat, and that's why he liked it out there. I can't.
That you went out there before you had the boat, and then you came back and.
Yeah, could have been. I don't know. I don't know. I can't remember. It's been so long.
I know. And so the one thing that's sort of interesting about this particular area, and I think he knew. I think he must have known somehow. But there's a lot of Spanish people that lived in this area, in that part of Connecticut, and and obviously in New York, there was a large.
Oh yeah, in New York, I know there was
population of Spanish people. Do you ever remember him? I mean, I know you said that was the time where it seemed like he had the most friends, or you guys used to get together with the most people.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about that?
We did have some. Now, I can't remember if it was in New York, because we stayed there. It was in one of the. We stayed with somebody. And I think they were either Italian or Spanish.
I'm sure they were Spanish then. I'm sure they would have been Spanish.
And I can't remember. But I know it was an apartment it had to be in New York for a while.
Yeah.
But
someone he knew?
Yeah, oh yeah, because I didn't know anybody.
Right. From the war, or from being Spanish, or?
I don't know.
Huh. So pretty soon after you got out there, you decided to come back.
Oh yeah.
He sells the boat and you come back.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the end of the Connecticut adventure.
Right, yeah. Bridgeport.
Bridgeport.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of Spanish people?
Yeah.
And that makes sense because I've got like newspaper clippings about Bridgeport, all in Spanish.
That's the first time I ever had a pizza.
Huh.
We used to get together with these people.
Yeah.
And on Friday night.
Right.
And we'd go to this bar and have beer or wine, I can't remember. Then we'd order pizza. And they'd bring this pizza and everybody had to stand up.
Huh.
And they brought the pizza and he set it down and then we sat down and ate the pizza. But that's the first time I ever heard of a pizza.
Yeah. But it seems to me that he knew somehow that there were a lot of Spanish people in that area. And from what I've heard, obviously I've never been there, from what I've heard, it sounds similar to the neighborhood that he lived in Spain.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm thinking he somehow knew and wanted to go there, knowing that it was similar to this place.
Well, maybe someday you can go to Bridgeport. Maybe you could find out something there.
Yeah.
Or to this city island.
Yeah. I mean, obviously there were a lot of boats.
Oh, yeah.
It's on the water. It's close to the ocean. It's not quite on the ocean.
Yeah, yeah.
To me, that and knowing that there was a large Spanish community, that sort of makes it like the equivalent of that neighborhood that he came from, just in New York or in Connecticut.
Well, you'll be doing a lot of traveling in you got a lot of years to go, so that might be something to look into too.
Yeah.
You and Ashley and.
Yeah.